So, you're an editor, and your client just gave you a demanding work task of creating a business training ad, or a training ad in particular, something like this. And the problem with videos like this is that it involves lots of motion graphics, and not every editor is well comfortable when handling motion graphics. To some, it may look complex, and to others, they don't really know where to start. Well, in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to create a motion style business presentation like this in Premiere Pro. I'm going to be holding your hand right from the beginning to the end, and I'm also going to explain to you how certain elements in this type of videos work. With that said, let's create. First off, videos like this are pretty much in high demand. Companies and organizations tend to have various events throughout the entire business year. And if you're a video editor working for a company or working for yourself, having the skills and knowledge to create videos like this might just come in handy. Now, I'm making this video because I saw a lot of people are very much interested to know how to create videos like this. If you check YouTube for motion style business ideas or templates and you scroll through the comments, you would see people asking questions like, how can they make something like this? Can you help me with the tutorial? And no one really gets back to them. So this video is for you guys. Now, before we start the tutorial, I just wanted to let you know that creating videos like this manually is time consuming. It's not difficult, it just takes lots of time to create. And because of this, some editors may prefer to buy a template and just change a few things here and there. And there's nothing wrong with this. But there might be some editors out there that might not have the resources to buy a template, or they just wish to know how to create videos like this. Whichever the case is, knowing how to create videos like this will surely come in handy. In creating this type of videos, what you need to know is that it involves shapes and movements. That's just it. Take a close look at this training ad. We see some shapes, particularly the squares. We see how they dynamically come in and go out. We see how the text appears. Essentially, when you look at it, you understand that it's something you can easily create. What you need to know is how to move the shape, how to place each element, and how to make this element appear nicely and move out nicely. A shape is a graphic, and when it's moving, it's in motion, hence the name motion graphics. That's one way you can define it. We'll be using this video from Powtoon as our reference video. We'll be creating a video exactly like this, and all you have to do is to follow along, and if you get stuck, don't worry, you can pause and rewind to the part you don't vividly understand. Now, I'll be creating this video in Adobe Premiere Pro. You can still follow along even if you aren't using Premiere Pro. The tools and the way things are arranged might be different from yours, but that doesn't mean you can't create something like this. In fact, you might even do something much better. Be creative. You don't have to do the exact same thing I do. All you need to do is just to understand how videos like this are made and implement it to your own workflow. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to get the stock videos that will be used in this training ad. There are so many free stock websites you can get videos from. Websites like Pixels, Pixabay, Cover. You can get your stock footage from anywhere you see fit. Once you get your footage, now it's time to hop into your editing software. In our case, it's Premiere Pro. You can drop your media at the sequence bar to instantly create a sequence, but what I like to do is to hit Ctrl N, and that instantly opens up a new sequence box. In here, you can change settings like the editing mode, time base, frame size, and stuff like that. We're going with a horizontal style video, so we're leaving it at 1920 by 1080. If it were to be vertical, then it would be 1080 by 1920. Once that's set, then we can click OK. Alright, now we're ready to work. To import your footage, go over to your project area or media area and double click. From here, you can access the location where you store your videos. Select all the videos you'll be using for this project and click open. They will appear in your project area, which you can then use to start working. We will also be importing the reference video so we can use the audio in our video and also compare and contrast. Drag the first video into the timeline and adjust it accordingly. We are going to be placing 4 videos to make up our first scene or frame, meaning for all the 4 videos to show, we will have to stack them on top each other. This is possible because they won't all be in the same position. As we stack, we're also going to be adjusting the position. Up and down left, up and down right. If there isn't enough room for the videos on the timeline, just drag this up and more spaces should appear. We also have to ensure that they each align and that there aren't any black spaces showing. And when we start over, we have something like this. Once we're done with that, it's time for us to nest all the clips into one. And nesting simply just means joining multiple videos to one so they can act as one, or joining multiple elements to one so they can act as one. These multiple elements could include text, images, videos, etc. And the reason we are nesting the clips is because this entire frame will move out. We are essentially going to start making things move now, and yeah, we could just make each of the individual clips move out, but since the entire thing will move out of frame, it will be just better to make everything as one and make them go out accordingly. To nest, you need to select all the clips to make sure Premiere Pro knows what you want to make as one. To do this, hold down the Shift key and select on each clip. Once that's done, right click and hit nest. a box will appear, and here you can give your nest a name, and this is somewhat helpful in scenarios where you have lots of clips and elements and you will need to nest certain things, and naming your nest could help you identify what is inside that nest. We aren't naming ours, so we will leave it just like that and click on OK. Another cool thing about nesting is that it just gives you lots of room to work with. It clears up the timeline, and there's this feeling of ease you get knowing that your timeline isn't scattered and you know where certain elements are, and you also know you won't be clumsy to delete something or whatnot. Now, our 4 clips have essentially turned into one. If we look closely into our reference video, we see all these boxes coming in, setting as placeholders for titles or something like that. And those boxes are essentially rectangles, and to create that, we need to go to our essential graphics panel, click on edit, click on the icon that looks like a folder, scroll down and click on rectangle. Now we need to adjust the rectangle to fit the size of the top video. Since we need 2 boxes, instead of making a new rectangle and adjusting it again, what we can do is to duplicate the already made rectangle, and to do this, click on the rectangle, hold down Alt, drag out, and voila, we have our second rectangle. Let's add color to these rectangles. Click on the first rectangle, click on fill, and let's select the color blue. To make the shape come in just as we saw in our reference video, go up to the effects panel and type in transform. And what this does is to allow the shape to be manipulated in so many ways. Click and drag that to the shape, and over to the effect control panels, you will see lots of parameters that this effect has given us. We have the ability to change the position, scale, skew, rotation, opacity, and other things. And all these effects can also be animated. For this exact shape, we'll be changing the position. So we want the rectangle or the box to slide through in, and to do this, we have to click the stopwatch or clock next to position. This establishes keyframes, and keyframes are like points where something would happen. It's just you kind of saying to Premiere Pro, I want this to move to this position at a certain time. It's also a way of animating your shape or text by making it move or do different things entirely. Now pay attention to this. At the point where we clicked the keyframe, that is the point where the rectangle will fully appear. That's the point where it will set in. In other words, that's the point where we want it to set in. Scrolling back to the beginning, it will change the position so the shape moves out completely. You can just hold the number value and drag and it will move out nicely. Now, when we play it, you would see our rectangle seamlessly sliding through. One thing I like to do is to set the temporal interpolation. That is out on the beginning keyframe and is in on the ending keyframe. This just makes the movement of the shape to be smooth, adding that essence of naturality to it. Alright, so now we need to do the same thing to our second rectangle. So we head over to the essential graphic panel, change the color and drag it close to the first rectangle on the timeline. For the animation, we could have gone with the first option, which is to click on our first rectangle, right click and hit copy. And what this does is to copy all the properties that this shape has, or all the properties that has been attributed to this shape. Meaning when we click our second shape, right click and choose paste attributes, you would see the attributes that are aligned with the shape. In this case, it is the transform effect. And if we were to press enter, you will see that our second rectangle goes to the same angle as our first rectangle. And it only did this because it's following the instructions or properties that is within the first shape, and that's not what we want. At this point, we could make a few manipulations to the keyframes, but it's just better to do it again from scratch, especially since it's on a different angle and it's a new shape. So we do the same thing as the first rectangle. We add in our transform effect, hit the stopwatch, change the position, apply in and ease out and ease in temporal interpolation, and we should have something worthy to work with. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's write our text. Click on the text tool, and something you should be aware of when working with text and shapes is that most times when you have a shape and you click on the shape to write a text inside, it will most likely group together, meaning the shape and text will become one clip. Also meaning the text will not come with its own layer, and that's not what we want. We want the shape to come in first and for the text to appear later. So instead of clicking on the shape and writing on it, we will click outside the shape, let's say on the video, and you will see the text layer being provided, and that's what we want. For our text, it will be welcome to Bright Life. You can change the text based on what you are going for, by the way. Alright, that should be okay enough. Let's add a cross dissolve to make the appearing effect, and let's change the duration to 6 nanoseconds. Let's make it text and do the same thing for our second rectangle as well. Now with that done, let's cut out the parts that we don't need, and once we are done with that, it's time for us to nest everything again. Remember, the reason why we are nesting is because we want everything in this scene to be a single clip so we could manipulate it at once. And with that, we have finished the first part of the video. For the next part, we're essentially going to be doing the same thing but with more motion graphic stuff. The first thing we need to do is to make this entire frame move up, and the next thing follows through below it, just like in our reference video. To do this, we'll have to bring in the video that will be the primary base for the next scene. If you haven't already imported that into your project area, you might want to do that now and drag that into the timeline. Once that's in, adjust it to fit the screen. Place the nested clip above the new video clip and make sure there's some few spaces before the end of the nested clip. That is the point you place the new video beneath it. I know this might be getting a bit confusing, but stay with me for a sec. We'll be adding our frame transform to the nested clip. We'll also be making a keyframe animation for the position, take it a few spaces forward, make another keyframe by raising the video up. In the previous scene, we'd usually go to the end and then change the position, but this is particularly different. That's why we didn't go all up to the end. We wanted to go up before it's done. I really hope that makes sense. Let's take the ending keyframe back a bit. Now, here's where you guys should hold on closely. We don't want to take up this entire scene too high because we want the new video to be right behind it, following the nested video from below. So we will keep it somewhere close up for now, and if you guessed it, yes, we will add the transform effect to the new video. Make a keyframe animation for the position. What I'm essentially trying to do here is to time the movement between the first scene and the second, so when one is going up, the other should follow accordingly. Alrighty, that should do it. Now let's add the other elements from our reference video. First, we will need to create our square shape. Let's make some adjustments to it real quick. And let's create an animation for the shape, just like we did with the previous shapes. For the text, we want to kind of try to recreate the text review effect from the reference video, and to do this, we will have to create an animation for the text to start coming from the bottom to the designated spot where we want it to stop. Now, since we want it to look as if it appeared from nothing, we will have to apply this effect called crop, and crop just means show only the area you want and remove the unwanted areas. To activate it, go to the crop section in the effect control panel and double click. It brings this crop box in the scene, and you could just simply crop out the area you don't want and leave the area you do want, or you could go up to the crop section in the effects panel and change it from there. Once that's done, click away and voila, we have a nice down text appear effect. Pretty cool, right? I also want to include this play button that we see here in the reference video. So where do we get our play button from? Well, there are a bunch of places you could check, but for this tutorial, I'll get mine from YouTube. You have to search for play button green screen and you should see something that you could work with. Once you download that to your computer, import it into your projects panel, drag it into your timeline, and let's remove the green background. To remove the green background, go to the effect panel and search for Ultra key. Click and drag it to the green screen video. Go to the Ultra key section in the effects control panel, click on the eyedropper, use it to click on the green area of the play button and it goes instantly. Adjust the play button and fit it into the graphic box. Now, let's create the remaining shapes we see here in our reference video. Just like the way I taught you. Let's adjust and place it here and change the color. Since we'll be needing 3 boxes, let's duplicate this. Change the position and bring it down a bit so you could see it. That's looking better. Let's change the color for this and let's reduce the opacity for each of these rectangles. To change the opacity, click the shape you wish to modify, go to the effect controls and go to the opacity section. In here, we can modify the opacity as much as we want. Let's just go with 70. Okay, now this is looking really beautiful. What do you think is going to be the next step? If you guessed it, yes, we're going to make these 3 shapes move, just like I taught you. So first, type in transform in the effect panel, apply it to your first shape and make a keyframe animation for the position. Ease out and ease in, and yeah, that should do it. Do the same thing for the remaining shapes. When doing the keyframe animation for the remaining shapes, note that we don't want the shapes to all come in at once. We want the first shape to come in, and as it is about to settle, then the second and the last should come in simultaneously. So to solve this, you might want to make the keyframes for the second and third shape to come in after the first shape starts coming in. Alright, this should be okay. Highlight the shapes and nest them together. It just gives us more room to work with and makes editing the entire scene much easier. Click on the text tool and let's write objective 1. You could write whatever you want, by the way. Adjust it a bit and place it into the box. Let's change the color and change it to something like blue. Let's duplicate the text so you can use it for both the second and third shape. We'll change that to objective 2 and 3. Now, one thing you should know about nested clips is that you can't extend its duration beyond its initial length. So let's say the shapes we nested, they had a duration of 5 seconds each. When you nest it, you can't extend the duration because its initial duration is 5 seconds. If you want to extend the duration, you would have to extend the individual clips, and to do this, just double click on the nested clip. It will take you to a different timeline where you would see all the elements you nested. From there, you can extend it as long as you want, allowing you to extend the nested clip in real time. Okay, so now that that's done, let's cut out the parts that we don't need. Since this scene will be moving out as well, we'll have to nest it and make it a single clip. Again, it just makes our work much easier. So instead of applying the transform effect and making keyframe animations for each clip, we can just do it to one clip. Easy, right? Okay, so just like we did with this scene, we'll be going into the next scene, meaning we'll need to import in the video that will be used as our base. Once that's imported, we drag that into our timeline. We want this new scene to come in from the top, so all we need to do is to place it on top of the nested clip where we want it to start coming down. Go into the effects panel and type in transform, apply that to our new clip, make a keyframe animation for the position, but this time it's starting from up, so we take this value back a bit. That should do it. Once that's done, you ease out and ease in your keyframes. If we take a close look at our reference video, we're still going to be creating more shapes, but just in a different style. So let's get into that. Now let's nest this entire scene together. We will do the same thing for our next clip, that's making a keyframe animation for the position. For the boxes in this scene, since it's the same as the previous scene, we don't need to start over from scratch. What we can do is to duplicate the nested clip that has all our shapes and text and place it on the new scene. This will be so helpful because all the instructions, keyframe animations and text effects we did in the previous scene will automatically be in this one. It just maintains consistency if you ask me. But there's just one problem. If we were to change anything in this nested clip, it will affect the original nested clip. So for example, let's change this to objective 2. And when we go back to the original nested clip, we see that it changes as well. So make sure you put it at the back of your mind that in scenarios like this, when you duplicate a nested clip, altering one of it will affect all of it. So what you can do in this situation is to double click on the nested clip and copy everything that's inside. In this case, it will be our objective 1 text and box and paste it on top the current scene. When it's in its individual form, it can be altered and it won't affect the original nested clip. We can also nest it to create more room. We will do the same thing for the what you need to know text and box. Now let's make the changes. After the changes are made, let's see if it affected the original nested clip. Here you go, it didn't affect it at all. So remember, when a nested clip is broken down into its individual forms, it can be altered and it would affect the original nested clip. I hope you understood how this works, and since the next clip is essentially going to be the same thing, there won't be much need for me to go over it while doing it. So I'll just complete the rest of the project just to make sure the video doesn't get too long. Don't panic, I won't speed it up. It will still be showing you the exact steps to complete the rest of this video. I will also be placing guidelines if needed. If you've made it to this point of the tutorial, well done, and thank you for sticking with me. With that said, let's complete the rest of this project. That's it for this tutorial, guys. I really hope you understood everything, and I really hope this video helps you out. And if it did, I kindly ask that you please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. If the tutorial wasn't clear enough and you have some questions, you can let me know in the comments below and I'll answer every single one of them. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you don't miss the next one.